What if I told you that the richest people in the world don't just work hard, they think differently? Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. In this video, we'll uncover the exact mindset shifts that separate the wealthy from the rest, from how they view time to the way they handle setbacks. These secrets can transform your life if you're ready to apply them. You'll discover why starting small is actually the fastest way to achieve big things and how to adopt the mental frameworks of self-made millionaires. This isn't about get-rich-quick schemes, it's about rewiring your brain for success. Most people see time as a limited resource that gets used up. They trade hours for dollars, counting down the clock until the next paycheck. But the wealthy approach time differently. They treat it as an investment that compounds over years. This shift in perspective changes how they make every decision. Warren Buffett follows what he calls the 20-slot rule. He imagines having only 20 slots in his lifetime for major decisions. This forces him to choose only the most impactful opportunities. Research from the University of California shows millionaires spend 1.5 hours more per day focused on long-term goals compared to the middle class. They prioritize time for strategy, learning, and building relationships rather than just completing tasks. Think of time like planting seeds versus harvesting crops. Most people focus on the daily harvest, what they can achieve right now. The wealthy dedicate more time to planting seeds that grow over years. A study in the Journal of Wealth Management found that self-made millionaires spend twice as much time planning their weeks as the average worker. Busyness often hides a lack of strategic thinking. Filling every minute with activity might feel productive, but it doesn't create real progress. The wealthy measure time by value created, not hours worked. This mindset affects everything from deciding which meetings to attend, to choosing investments, to building networks. Time mastery comes before financial mastery. You can't create wealth without first mastering how you allocate your days. A 10-year study by Thomas Corley found that over 60% of self-made millionaires track how they spend their time, compared to just 6% of those with lower incomes. They don't leave their schedules to chance. The difference isn't about working harder, it's about working with intention. This approach extends to relationships. The wealthy invest time in mentors and collaborators who bring long-term value, not just immediate benefits. They understand that time compounds differently when focused on the right people and projects. The same hour can be spent reacting to emails or building skills that multiply future opportunities. Once you see time as an investment, decisions become clearer. Should you take a side job for extra cash or spend those hours learning a high-value skill? Should you attend a networking event or deepen an existing relationship? The wealthy ask these questions before committing time, not after. This mindset shift affects even small daily choices. Checking social media for 30 minutes might seem harmless, but multiplied over years, that time could have been spent reading, exercising, or learning. The wealthy protect their focus because they know minutes add up to outcomes. Time management isn't about squeezing more into your day. It's about choosing what deserves your attention in the first place. The richest people aren't better at working hard. They are better at deciding where their effort goes. Now let's examine how this same mindset applies when facing setbacks. Most people see failure as something to avoid at all costs. The rich treat it differently, as unavoidable feedback. When SpaceX's rockets kept exploding, Elon Musk didn't see disaster. Each explosion revealed another engineering flaw to fix. The final successful landing came from stacking those lessons together. This reveals a key distinction. Ordinary people stop at failure's emotional cost. The wealthy analyze its information value. Neuroscience confirms this. Brain scans show we retain knowledge better from mistakes than successes. Errors create stronger neural pathways because they demand adjustment. Correct answers just reinforce existing patterns. Think of handling setbacks like weight training. Muscles don't grow during the lift. They develop while repairing micro tears afterward. Similarly, professional growth happens by processing failures intelligently. Each controlled setback strengthens your capabilities if you extract its lessons properly. Harvard research tracked entrepreneurs over decades. Those who avoided early failures plateaued faster. Those who encountered moderate setbacks early ultimately built more resilient businesses. Initial struggles forced them to develop better systems. The study called this the optimal difficulty principle. Challenges that stretch but don't break, you create ideal growth conditions. David Senra's Founders Podcast analyzed this across industries. He found most breakthroughs follow similar patterns, countless iterations before the version that worked. The Wright brothers' early crashes taught wing warping. Walt Disney's first studio bankruptcy revealed his storytelling weaknesses. Their eventual successes came from compiling these hard-won insights. What separates wealthy thinkers isn't avoiding failure, but leveraging it. They document what each attempt reveals. Was timing wrong? Execution flawed? Market unready? These become checklist improvements for the next try. Amateurs see failed ventures as dead ends. Professionals treat them as paid education. Apply this through deliberate practice. When something doesn't work, write down 3 specific reasons why, then test solutions one by one. Most breakthroughs come from this systematic approach rather than sudden inspiration. The biggest shift comes in measuring progress differently. Instead of tracking successes alone, count lessons learned from setbacks too. This transforms paralyzing fear into curiosity. What will this attempt teach me? That's the breakthrough mindset. Edison's team reportedly tried over 1,000 filament materials before creating the light bulb. His famous response wasn't failure framing, "We've discovered 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb." Each attempt narrowed possibilities toward the solution. This changes risk assessment dramatically. Shifting from "what if I fail" to "what will I learn" makes action easier. Wealth builders focus on information yield. Every outcome provides data to improve. NASA embodies this professionally. Their lessons learned database documents spacecraft failures dating back to the 1960s. Each mission setbacks become institutional knowledge, preventing future errors. That's failure-positive thinking at scale. Start small by reviewing one recent setback differently. Instead of judging it as bad, list 3 things it revealed, then design your next step accordingly. This builds momentum where others stall. Successful people fall just as often. They just fall forward. When a Japanese inventor created the blue LED after hundreds of failed attempts, his lab notebooks showed meticulous documentation of each error. That structured learning process ultimately produced revolutionary technology. The path isn't avoiding mistakes, but making sure each one teaches you something new. That's how small losses become big gains over time. Now let's examine how micro actions create this compounding effect. Most people approach big goals with an all-or-nothing mindset. They wait for perfect conditions, massive motivation, or complete certainty before taking action. But research from the University of Scranton shows this approach often backfires. 92% of people fail their New Year's resolutions because they set targets too large. The wealthy think differently. They understand that micro actions create momentum. Amazon didn't start as everything store. Jeff Bezos began by selling just books from his garage. That small start allowed for testing, learning, and gradual expansion without overwhelming pressure. Studies on skill acquisition reveal why this works. When learning any complex behavior, the brain develops myelin, a fatty substance that insulates neural pathways. This happens through repetition, not through occasional intense efforts. A musician practicing scales daily builds more reliable skill than one trying to master whole compositions sporadically. The same principle applies to wealth building. Small, consistent investments grow through compounding, while sporadic large bets often lead to stress and poor decisions. The 1% improvement rule explains the power of this approach. If you improve just 1% daily, you'll be 37 times better after 1 year. This works because small changes feel manageable. Want to start exercising? Begin with 5 minutes. Building a business? Focus on one small task each morning. Behavioral scientists find that miniature routines bypass resistance because they don't trigger our brain's threat response to major change. Perfectionism often stops progress before it starts. Researchers at York University found that perfectionists procrastinate more and complete fewer projects. They wait for flawless execution instead of shipping a simple version and refining it later. Instagram began as a check-in app called Bourbon before pivoting to photo sharing. The founders released basic versions quickly, gathered feedback, and iterated. This philosophy applies beyond business. In relationships, small, consistent acts of appreciation build stronger bonds than occasional grand gestures. In finance, automatic micro-investments accumulate wealth more reliably than sporadic large deposits. Even health improvements work best through tiny sustainable habits. Drinking 1 more glass of water daily precedes complete diet overhauls. The minimum viable action principle suggests starting with the smallest possible step that moves you forward. If you want to write a book, commit to 1 paragraph daily. Building a YouTube channel, film 60 seconds. These micro-actions create evidence of progress, which fuels motivation better than ambitious plans that never launch. Over time, small steps compound into significant results without the burnout of major initial efforts. Next, you'll see how this approach to small beginnings shapes the decision-making filters that wealthy minds use daily. The way you evaluate opportunities changes completely when you understand the power of incremental progress. Successful people don't wait for perfect conditions. They start with what they have and improve along the way. Most people make decisions by reacting to what's in front of them. They say yes to requests without thinking, jump at every opportunity, and end up spreading themselves too thin. The wealthy approach decisions differently. They use simple filters to evaluate choices before taking action. This small shift changes everything. Warren Buffett calls this his not-to-do list. Instead of focusing on what to pursue, he first identifies what to avoid. He turns down dozens of business proposals each week, even when they seem profitable. This discipline keeps him focused only on investments that truly match his criteria. Research shows our brains can only handle so many decisions before quality suffers. Cognitive load theory explains why making too many choices drains mental energy and leads to poorer outcomes. Think of decision-making like using a compass versus drifting at sea. Without filters, you follow every wind that blows. With strategic questions guiding you, each choice moves you closer to your destination. The most successful people ask 3 things before deciding. First, does this align with my long-term goals? Second, is this the best possible use of my time right now? Third, will this create lasting value or just temporary gains? The power of no might surprise you. Every time you decline something unimportant, you preserve energy for what truly matters. Studies show that high performers aren't necessarily more skilled at saying yes, they're better at saying no. Each rejected distraction compounds over time, creating space for meaningful work. Elon Musk uses this principle when scheduling his week, blocking time for engineering while delegating other tasks. Decision fatigue explains why shopping feels harder after hours of choices. Your willpower weakens with each selection, whether picking cereal or business strategies. That's why successful people automate routine decisions. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same gray t-shirt daily to conserve mental energy. Barack Obama restricted his suits to blue or gray during his presidency. These small habits free up brain power for important judgments. Applying these filters changes how you spend your time and energy. Imagine evaluating social invitations, business proposals, and daily tasks through this lens. You might attend fewer events, but the ones you choose will be more valuable. You might take on fewer projects, but complete them better. This approach creates a ripple effect across all areas of life. The 3-question test works because it forces intentionality. When you pause to evaluate alignment, timing, and value, you make fewer but better decisions. This builds momentum toward your goals while reducing stress and wasted effort. The cumulative effect over months and years becomes significant. Now consider how this connects to energy management. Making fewer but higher quality decisions preserves mental resources for deep work. When your filters become automatic, they create space for focused creation rather than constant reaction. This leads us to examine how the wealthy protect their most valuable asset. We often hear about time management as the key to productivity. But there's something more important that gets overlooked. The wealthy don't just manage their time, they manage their energy with precision. Think about how Bill Gates takes entire think weeks where he disappears to focus deeply without distraction. This isn't about blocking calendar slots, it's about protecting mental bandwidth. Our bodies work in natural cycles called ultradian rhythms, 90 to 120-minute periods where we move between high focus and natural rest. Studies show trying to push beyond these cycles leads to diminishing returns. It's like your brain has an internal battery that drains faster when you ignore these natural breaks. The most successful people structure their days around these energy peaks rather than fighting against them. Consider how you use your smartphone. You wouldn't keep all apps running while streaming video and expect good performance, yet we do this with our minds, jumping between emails, social media, and work tasks until our focus is completely drained. High performers treat their attention like a limited resource, intentionally allocating it where it matters most. Here's what most people miss. You don't actually control time. There will always be 24 hours in a day, but you can control what gets your undivided attention during your peak energy windows. This explains why some people achieve more in 4 focused hours than others do in 12 scattered ones. The quantity of hours matters less than the quality of focus within them. The 90-minute focus block method mirrors our natural rhythms. Set aside 1 or 2 of these blocks daily for your most important work. Close all tabs and notifications. Research from University of California, Irvine shows it takes an average of 23 minutes to regain focus after an interruption. These protected blocks prevent that cognitive tax, like putting your mind in airplane mode. Notice when your energy dips naturally, that's your signal to step away. Take a short walk or practice deep breathing. These intentional breaks recharge you faster than pushing through fatigue. Over weeks and months, this rhythm creates compounding returns on all your efforts. Your output increases while feeling less drained. The difference between average and exceptional performance often comes down to this single principle. When you stop watching the clock and start observing your energy patterns, everything changes. Tomorrow, try tracking when you feel most alert versus distracted. Those personal patterns hold the key to unlocking your best work. Most mornings begin the same way. An alarm blaring, frantic scrolling through emails before your feet hit the floor, rushing through breakfast while checking social media. This reactive start drains mental energy before the day truly begins. Now consider how strategic thinkers approach the same 24 hours. Their mornings aren't about reacting, but intentionally setting the tone for what follows. High performers treat their morning routine like an architect's blueprint. Every element serves a purpose. Oprah Winfrey starts with meditation and gratitude journaling, while Twitter's Jack Dorsey begins with cold exposure and fasting. What looks like simple habits are actually deliberate systems. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that consistent morning rituals reduce decision fatigue by 62%. When you automate positive choices early, you conserve mental bandwidth for high-value decisions later. The difference lies in constructing your day rather than enduring it. Think of your daily structure as scaffolding. The stronger the framework, the taller you can build. Billionaire entrepreneur Sarah Blackley dedicates her first waking hours to creative thinking without distractions. Microsoft's Satya Nadella blocks time for learning before checking emails. These aren't random preferences, but calculated strategies. Neuroscience confirms that willpower peaks in the morning, making this the optimal time for focused work. What makes these routines transformative isn't their complexity, but their consistency. Small wins compound like interest. Writing one page every morning becomes a book draft in months. 15 minutes of market research daily builds exceptional business insight over years. The snowball effect starts when you align micro actions with macro vision. Try implementing just one change this week. Maybe it's dedicating the first 30 minutes to your most important project, or removing phone checks for the first hour. Track how this shift affects your energy and output. Over time, you can layer additional habits while maintaining what works. Here's a simple checklist to guide these changes. Prioritize one high-impact task before noon. Protect 90-minute focus blocks for deep work. Schedule reflection time to assess progress. Limit reactive decisions until after core work is complete. The goal isn't rigid perfection, but progressive structure. What most people mistake as innate discipline is really intentional design. The highest achievers don't rely on motivation. They create systems that make success inevitable. Your daily structure becomes the foundation for everything else. Small adjustments here create disproportionate results everywhere else. Remember that transformation happens through evolution, not revolution. Implementing even one element from this framework starts reshaping your trajectory. The compound effect works invisibly at first, but eventually becomes undeniable. These small shifts are how ordinary days build extraordinary lives. Now that you see how the pieces fit together, let's examine the most crucial element that makes all this possible. The final piece isn't about what you do, but how you sustain it. The wealthiest people aren't different, they just think differently, and now so can you. What separates them isn't luck or talent, but daily habits of mind. They see time as investment, failure as feedback, and small steps as building blocks. You don't need radical changes, just consistent shifts in perspective. Think of mindset like compound interest for your brain. Each small decision adds up over months and years. Start today by choosing one principle from this video to implement, whether it's reframing setbacks or guarding your focus. Progress happens through application, not just understanding. Subscribe to our channel, share which idea resonated most in the comments. Let's build this mindset together.